Well, hello Divi Nation and welcome to a brand new Divi use case live stream where each week we show you how to add new design and functionality to your Divi websites. And today we're going to be showing you in this live tutorial how you can create some scroll animated before and after images in Divi. Don't forget to check out the video description for more info on this live stream and use case. And let's go ahead and jump in and get started. All right, welcome everyone. Please be sure to let us know if you can hear me and see me and the stream's coming in okay. Give me a thumbs up if so. Also, say hello. Let us know where you're from, what your favorite color is, whatever you want to share with us in the chat. And hopefully, any questions you may have as we go along. And maybe I'll be able to answer it. If not, somebody in the chat may be able to as well. Excited to get going. This should be a nice, quick one, hopefully, to show you how you can create these images and create this pretty cool before and after animation effect on scroll. All right. All right, so no thumbs up yet. I see we have some people on here, so make sure to give me a thumbs up. Hello from Spain. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce that name, but Bicicletas? I don't know. It's good to see you. Welcome. And please give me the thumbs up. That way I know you can hear me. Sometimes things get messed up, you know, and you can't hear me. All right, we got my first thumbs up. Thanks, Alex, for that. And welcome, Al from Bangladesh. Looks like we're ready to get started as we're trickling in, as more and more are trickling in. I can just give you a little sneak peek. Ruben, strong arming over here, thank you for joining us. So here's our little sneak peek of what we're going to be doing. Again, this is a real simple design. We're going for the effect. Of course, you can add all the bells and whistles and wonderful design elements you want with Divi. But here it is. So on the left, you have a before image. And as you scroll, you see that image being transformed into the after image as you scroll up and down the page. And if you notice, there's actually like a shadow image left behind. So when the animation is done, you can kind of see that little shadow before image, which is, I think, a cool touch. I have a couple of more examples as we scroll down. Here's kind of like a web design before and after for a design agency maybe. So as you scroll forward, you see the finished design. Or as you scroll down, rather, you see the finished design sliding left to right. And one more is just a portrait, regular portrait. As you can see, we're using two completely different images here as we slide across. And these images, of course, you'll be able to customize them with all of Divi's, built-in filter options for images, stuff like that. Some, I know they have plugins for this type of thing. We won't need a plugin for this. This is just all Divi, and I'll show you how to do it pretty easy once you understand the concept. But that's it. All right, let's jump in and get started building this thing. All right, a few more people. MD from Bangladesh, welcome. Michael as well. Thanks for the thumbs up. And Bank versus UTV, cheers. Cheers, does that mean you are from the UK or do you just use cheers as an American? Because I use it a lot, especially in my blog posts. Cheers. All right, from Russia with love. Welcome. Can't read Russian, or yeah, sorry, but glad you're here. nonetheless. So let's see if we have any more. Yes, all right. Teresa from Denmark and Mike from Vietnam, awesome. And Diva, what a great name, from Michigan. Would you say that you are a Divi diva? Haha. All right, so I'm going to get started here. We are going to build this on the front end using the Divi builder from a blank page. So let's do that. So I'm going to go to a new page here. I've already kind of set up a new page, click to use the Divi builder on the front end, and the all familiar screen prompting me to insert a row. So I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to go, since we are going to do a 2-column row, it makes sense to do 2-column, but I'm just going to duplicate my column later for speed purposes. Just a heads up there. So I'm going to do a 1-column row, a little different from the blog post, but same principle. And actually, before I get to adding any modules or anything, I'm going to customize my setting, or excuse me, yes, my settings for my section and my row. Or I should say my row and my column, excuse me. We're not going to worry about our section settings. We're just going to keep it white background, normal padding. All that's good for now. But I do want to open up my row settings because this is important. So what I'm going to do is go to my design settings for my rows and customize the sizing options. I'm going to give it a custom gutter width of 1. That's just going to take out any, bottom margin of my image modules I'll be adding later. And it makes sure those columns will get no margin in between them, so everything kind of sits flush horizontally as well. So no margins between my columns. That's why I have my gutter width of 1. And then I'm going to give it a max width of 100% because I do want it to span the full width, especially on mobile. And a max width of, here's where I need to think a little bit ahead of time, because what I'm going to be doing to create this effect, to give you a heads up, you're going to need images, and you're going to make sure and use the same size images for each image module we're adding. And because of the scroll effects we're going to be adding later, we need to know exactly what kind of width we want our row to be, because this will kind of dictate how big we want our images in each of those columns to be and how big we want our images to be in each of those columns. This will make more sense as we go along, but just for right now, I'm going to give our row a pixel width or max width of 900 on desktop. Hold on. Open up my responsive tabs there. So for desktop, I'm going to go 900 pixels. All right. That will mean once I get my 2-column row set up, I'll have a 500 pixel width column on the left, and that's not correct math. Sorry, 450 pixel column on the left and a 450 pixel column on the right. On tablet, I'm going to shrink that down to 700 pixels. And for phone, I'm going to go with 300. All right, and let's go back to my desktop view. And I do want to get rid of my top and bottom padding on my row, so I'm going to set that to 0. All right. Once that's done, I want to make sure that my row, so by default, the columns when you get to mobile displays like tablet and phone, the columns, if you have a 2-column layout, will kind of break into a single column. We don't want that. We want them to stay side by side, to stay adjacent to one another throughout all devices. or screen sizes. So quick way to do that is to add a simple snippet of custom CSS using the display flex property, and basically the flex wrap, no wrap. So just add that in there to my main element on my row. That'll make sure that the columns will stay adjacent to one another and won't wrap or break into a one column row on tablet or whatnot. So save that out. Let's go into my column settings. Before I do that, I want to open up my layers view here. I like to have that open just in case for easy access. Open all of those. All right, so my column inside of my row, I only have one column right now. That's because I'm going to customize this column and I'm going to duplicate it to create my two columns. All right, hopefully you're following along so far. All right. So let's do this really quickly and then I'll jump into the chat, see if we have any questions so far. We got our row set up, kind of stripped it of all the padding and stuff and made sure that it was had no gutters and anything like that. Now we're going to go with our column settings. Let's do, first of all, we're going to add some padding to our column. We want some spacing above and below those images we're going to be adding to those columns. So I'm going to use the 5 VW length unit at the top and bottom. So 5 VW top padding and bottom padding. And this is to my column. And to create this, if you go back to my finished product here, finished design, you see that line in the middle there? That's actually created with a border added to the right column and the left column to get a nice centered line there. So to do that, I need to add a border, a right border to my column, and I'm going to make it 2 pixels in width. That's important to remember. You can't really see it. There it is. 2 pixels in width, and let's tone down the darkness a little bit, make it a lighter gray there. And another very important step is to update my visibility option, more specifically the horizontal and vertical overflow for my column, because when I scroll down, the image, this little black and white image here, is actually scrolling outside of the column, the left column, and being hidden. And simultaneously, there's another image over here on the right, the colored version, and that is coming into view from the left to the right. And so it's important to have each of those images hidden horizontally once they're outside of my column. So I don't want them to show, in other words, outside of my column, whenever they're animated beyond it. So to do that, I make sure and set my horizontal overflow to hidden and also my vertical to hidden, just in case. Once that's done, I'm going to save it. And now I'm going to simply duplicate my column. All right, that gives me my 2 columns that I want, and it kind of sped up the process, so I don't have to add those padding and everything to it, or the horizontal overflow or whatever. But for my second column, I do want to make that border on the left so that it stays centered. So I'm going to update my, go to my, okay, duplicate and then open up my, all right, cool. So I just exited out without saving any of my customization to my column. So I'm sure you are human and make mistakes too. So I'm just going to repeat this. So we're back to column 1 because it didn't save any of my settings. Sorry. So adding my padding to the top and bottom. And let's go ahead and add that border, that left border of 2 pixels. Did I say left border? Sorry, right border. Yep. Let's go right border. 2 columns, 2 pixels. Yeah, I'm struggling today. Okay, 2 pixels, and then change the color to lighter gray. Sorry for that mess up there. And of course, don't forget, hide the visibility or the overflow. And now click save. There we go. I'm going to save it. All right, so now all I need to do is duplicate my column. I just did it from my layers view there. So now I have 2 columns, and I want to open up my second column, the one I just duplicated. And I just want to change the border from having that right border. Let's take that out and add a left border of 2 pixels with the same color. Open up my settings a bit more. Okay. So same thing, just changing up the border for the left column. All right. That takes care of my columns. So it should look like this. And I'm going to save my changes. And take a quick peek over here in the chat here. And let's see, we got Bank versus UTV says Divi rocks. Agreed. All right. Nina says awesome. Great to hear. Horst, thanks for the thumbs up. And let's see. All right. Everybody's looking like we're following along and having a great time. Thank you. Yes, Bank versus UTV says, I've been in it for 30 years and it happens. Yes, it happens. We all make mistakes. Okay. All right, I'm going to start adding my images now. I'm going to do, it is a before and after, but I am going to add 3 images because like I said before, I'm going to add that really cool like shadow image that gets left behind as an option as well. It's optional, you don't need it, but I like it, so I'm going to create it. All right, so let's do our first image. Nothing difficult about that. Just simply add an image module to that first or column 1 there on the left. And let's add that image. Now, I probably don't remember where that image is, nor did I save it. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to copy and paste it. Did you know that you can copy and paste settings and images from different tabs? As long as you're in the same, website, you can copy this stuff pretty easily from one tab or whatever, one page to the other, one Divi builder to the other. So I'm going to copy this image, and then I'm going to go over here to my other tab that I'm building, and I'm going to paste the image in here if it lets me. Probably won't. There it is. Okay, paste image. There you go. This image, the dimensions aren't as important as, as long as it's as, at least as wide as, the container that it's in, which is, in this case, about 450 pixels is about how wide it's going to get. But just make sure it's, at least that in width. But also make sure that the dimensions of the images you use are the same throughout. I am going to use the same image for this example, but you can, use whatever combination of images you want. So once my image is in place, I do want to update the settings for this image. And that's because I want to make sure that it stays the same width that I want it to. For my scrolling options, I'm going to add later on. So for sizing, Let's do 100%, but I'm going to give them a max width. And these are going to be corresponding to the width of the column that it's in. Remember, this is a 900 pixel width row, so the column is 450 pixels at this point. But bear in mind, I added a 2 pixel border to the right. So I have to subtract that when I think about the image size that it's going to need to be. So take 450 minus 2. That gives me the max width I want my image to be, which is 448. And for tablet, same concept, half of 700 would be 350, and then minus the 2 pixel border, which would be 348. And then on phone, I want it to be 148, because half the row would be 150, and then minus the 2 pixel border width. So that's what I want each of my images, their max width, to be. All right. Now at this point, I'm going to save this and then duplicate the image so I don't have to repeat those settings each time. So I'm simply going to duplicate this image twice to create my 3 images, and I'm going to drag one of them over to my right column. All right, so now my 3 images are created and in place. Now it's time to customize them. So let's go ahead and first, let's customize my shadow image, which will be this one here. And I'm going to open up the settings, and let's go ahead and go to my filter options. And a simple way to make any image black and white is to take down that saturation to 0. So there you go. Very easy. Created a black and white version of my image. But I know I not only want to do that, I want to create kind of a shadow, so I want to barely see it. So I'll just take down the opacity down to like 10%. There you go. All right, so that takes care of that. But I'm not quite done, because I want this shadow image to sit nicely behind my before image. And to do that, I'm going to give it an absolute position. So I'll go to my advanced tab, go to position, give it an absolute position. And you can see that now it kind of, it did what I wanted to do almost, because it's given an absolute position behind my column or behind my image, but within the column, it's still sitting above this image here, and that's because of the padding I added to my column, which, if you remember, was a 5 VW top padding. So what I can do is just add a vertical offset to this equal to the padding that I gave to the top of my column, which was 5 VW. So I'll just do that, and that'll bring down that image to sit directly behind the before image. So now it's kind of sitting there waiting, so that when I scroll and move this before image over, it'll show up. All right, now let's go to my before image. If you get confused having this layers view open, as you can see, I wouldn't be able to kind of select that shadow image. I can, just for kicks, I'm just going to label this shadow image, so you'll know. And I'm going to label this one my before image, and then this one will be over in the right column. This one will be my after image. There you go. So let's click on the settings for my after image here. Now, excuse me, before image. And let's go ahead, and we do want to make this one also black and white, but not the opacity. So I'm going to go back to my filter, bring that saturation down. So there's my black and white version before image. But I don't want to stop there. I also want to add my scroll effect to my image. Now to do that, I'm going to go to my Advanced tab, Scroll Effects, and I want to make it slide to the right. So I need a horizontal motion scroll effect. So I'm going to click that horizontal motion tab, enable horizontal motion. And here is where we're going to get creative with our set horizontal motion options. Okay. Now it's important to know that I don't want it to start the scroll animation until have this motion effect trigger set to the middle of the element. So when the middle of the element, that's about here, so in the image, the middle of the element, I want it to start the animation when that middle of the element reaches 30% of the viewport. Or I should say, yeah. So to give you an idea, say this is about 30% of the viewport height, right? Once it reaches that point, it starts the animation, right? That's how it knows when to start. And let me make sure, double check. Yeah, it is middle, okay. So that's what I want to do. And I want it to end at about 60% because I want to be able to see everything, you know, before it goes out of view. I want to contain it within, you know, wait, is it 60? Yeah, 60. So I'm going to kind of end the animation. Let me increase this a bit so we not have to, there you go. And then I'll split that in half. So should look like this. So 30% is when it starts, the midway is 45%, and then the ending viewport percentage will be 60. Now, by default, it's going to come with these like 4 zeros, -4. These values represent a pixel amount. The 4 actually represents 400 pixels. So we can use this to our advantage because we know the actual or exact pixel width of our images. So we know how much to move it over exactly. But because it's kind of using the 4 represents 400, we're going to use decimal points to get the exact width or value we need to move it over. So we want to move it over. Well, we want to start at 0, number 1. We don't want to start moving it. We're going to keep it at its default location from the start. And then we want to move it over all the way to my, what is it? The ending offset is going to be the total width of the image plus the 2 pixel border width, which would be 4.52. All right. As you can see, it kind of already did its thing. It's already moved over. This actually means, though, 452 pixels. So 4.52 is equal to 452 pixels. I need to split the difference there so that it's a smooth transition in between. So it's going to be 2.26. So that's half of 452 if I still know math. And so that's good. That's what I want. But I can't stop there because, as you know, it changes. The width of these images are going to change on on tablet and phone. So I need to update those values as well. So for tablet, it moves over. So my ending offset is going to be 3.52 or 352 pixels. The middle will be 1.76, and then I do want to start at 0 again. All right, again, all that is determined by the width of the image. And then, as you can see, on mobile, so phone, I should say, it's going to be 1.52 or 152 pixels is my ending offset. And I want to split that in half. So let's do 0.76. And that should do it. I'll save the changes. And now we need to do the same similar thing to our after image. So I'm going to open up my after image and I'm going to do a very similar thing. I'm going to update I don't need to update the filter or change the image because this is what, the after image is. I don't want to add any black and white saturation or whatever. But I want to keep that all the same. But I do need to move it from left to right into view exactly as the time the before image is being moved from left to right. All right, so let's do that. Let's go scroll effects, horizontal motion, and we want to do the same, keep everything the same. We're just going to kind of do the opposite values. So 30%, I'm going to start the animation at 30% of the viewport and end it at 60, just like before. And then let's do 45. And then for my starting offset, let me go ahead and make sure, activate my responsive tabs there for desktop. I want to start out, with it hidden over to the left. So I want to do a negative 4.52. All right. So, and then I'm using negative because I want it to come from the left. And then I'm going to do a negative 2.26. Okay. And then I want to end it at 0. All right. For tablet, let's go ahead and do negative 3.52. And for my starting offset and for my middle offset, I want negative 1.76. Again, these are the same values as we entered for our before image. We're just going in the opposite direction and adding a negative value to them instead of a positive. Keep that at 0. All right. And then for our phone, we're going to do negative 1.52. or negative 152 pixels. Split the difference, so a negative 0.6 or 76. Is that right? Yep. Okay, and then 0. All right. Now, let's save that. And let's test it out. Now, as you can see, I can't really scroll up and down because I don't have, oops, sorry about that. I don't have room to do that. So a real quick way to test out these settings is to go open your section settings and let's add some margin to the top and bottom. I'm just going to do 80 VH, which is 80% of the view height or viewport height to the top and bottom. That gives me some room to scroll. And as you can see, there's my effect happening. You can actually see it on the Visual Builder, which is cool. Let me save it out and let's open it up in a live page. See, there you go. Pretty cool. Everything's working fine. And if you wanted to create your before and after text, you could do that as well. Just remember, for example, Let me go ahead and make a 2-column row. Add a text module. Let's put in that left column, just put the text before. And actually, added an H2 to it. So let's do that. Make it an H2 before. And let's go ahead and change that heading text real quickly. Let's just change it to that font, make it Roboto, make it all caps, or uppercase, I should say. And let's center it. All right. Looks good. Let's go ahead and duplicate that and drag it over to the right. Drag the image, or excuse me, the row to the top there. As you can see, it's not completely aligned yet. Update my before text on the right column there to after. And to make sure that these two columns don't wrap or break into one column on mobile, I'm just going to copy my row settings or row styles, and I'm going to paste them into here. That's going to make sure everything's nice and or that the rows equal each size on each, desktop, tablet, and phone. All right, save it out. And let's test it out. All right, looking good. I'm going to inspect this really quickly. And I'm going to show you how it responds. So let's do that. So there you go. There's my effect that I want. And if I shrink my browser, once it gets past that 980 mark, it's going to go to tablet. There you go. So this would be kind of the starting tablet view. You see everything kind of doesn't stack, still works seamlessly, which is cool. Let's come and bring it down to a more mobile size. You can see that it, again, works the same way. Just a smaller version of those images. All right. I'm going to jump over to the questions. I've been ignoring you if you are just joining us. We have already created, or just about finished creating, our before and after image with scroll animation in Divi. And of course, you can check out the blog post that I've included in the chat or in the video description for more information on this use case. And of course, if you don't have Divi yet, I've also included a link to get Divi or to check Divi out for yourself as well. All right, let's check over to the chat. Looks like we have a few more people that have joined us and said hi. Hello, Marlon and Full Movies. Hi. Elena from Italy. Love Italy. And Caesar from Peru. And John from Guadalajara, Mexico. Welcome. All right, so it looks like we don't really have any questions. That means I have explained everything just perfectly. And I have created the first perfect tutorial on a subject. Just kidding. Okay. All right, so real quick before I go, though, I just wanted to kind of show you how easy it is to update this. Of course, there is a JSON file download on the blog post where you can download and import this layout yourself to test it out without having to build everything from scratch if you want. So check that out, get the download from our blog post. But if you wanted to, let's go back to our visual builder here. It's really easy to kind of just update these images. So let's say I wanted to use another image. Let's go ahead and do that. We can do this one here. Let's just do a portrait. We can easily do that. So I'm going to add this portrait view. You can see this is the shadow version of that image. And I want to use the same image. So I'm just going to copy it. Copy image. And it's inheriting the styling I gave it to that shadow image. I'm going to paste it to my before image. So you can see that there's my before image. And I can replace my after image as well. Just paste that image in there. And save it out. So as I scroll, you can see there's my before and after effect. Of course, you can also, for the after image, you can use you don't have to use the same image. Let's just throw in a different version. Let's throw in this guy. So that'll be my after image. Save it out. Let's check it out on the live version. So as I scroll up, you can see kind of running out of vertical space with those portraits. So you may need to, start the animation sooner or end it a little bit earlier so you can have the full before and after in view. But that can be done easily by updating those scroll effects in Divi. But there you go. Hopefully this will give you another way to boost those before and after images on your site, creating a nice little dynamic transition, fun way for your users to engage with your website and see those before and afters kind of come to life a bit. One final check on this on the chat here. Paulo says, just started watching, but going to rewind, start from scratch. Yes, so this video will be available on our YouTube and Facebook, or on YouTube and Facebook later on, for you to check out, and rewatch it or whatever you need to do. But seems like we're coming to an end here, so I'm going to close this out today. All right, so that's all I got for you this week, and thanks for joining us, everyone. Please be sure to subscribe to our blog newsletter, our YouTube channel, and like us on Facebook, and don't forget to get those notifications. That way we can let you know every single time we have something new for you, like another use case live stream, which will be next week at Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So also, don't forget to check the video description for more info on this live stream. And we'll be back here next week with another Divi use case live stream. Until then, see you later. Hope to see you soon.